is it clear that somebody wants him to go? Who is trying to make him leave?
Well, so far, of course, all of these briefings have been just that. There's been no formal statements or indications of what the king or the rest of the royal family want to see happen. Having said that, I think it is clear that the king does want Andrew to leave Royal Lodge, and you can understand why. It's a massive, as you said, 30-bedroom pad, which really should be for somebody who's doing a proper job for the royal family rather than doing absolutely sweet FA. So you can understand why the king wants him out. Also, the king has been, since Charles took over, he has been fairly brutal. I think a lot of people have been quite surprised at the way that he has gone about doing what he always said he wanted to do, have a much more slimmed down, modern looking royal family. And so certainly his attitude towards the peripheries of the family, you can see that quite clearly, that he wants to do that, particularly in his choice of photographs, who goes on the balcony, all those things which might seem rather sort of petty and small, but do send a clear message.
That's interesting because reports say that Charles wouldn't risk upsetting the family by sort of physically forcing him to move. And the point is he can't anyway, if this report is believed and is right. It's quite complicated, but his name is on the lease with the Crown Estate, not the royal family. So yes, he can't go.
Again, so you've had, I mean, it's quite political in the way it's coming out, in the sort of the briefing and then the counter briefing. So the briefing being Charles wants Andrew out, he wants him to go to Frogmore. Then the counter briefing from Team Andrew saying, well, Charles might well want that, but it's not really up to him. It's up, and they're saying it's up to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. That is, I think, dancing on the head of a pin. It's not really true that this has got anything to do with politics or with the Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's that's sort of reading the small print and taking it far too far, to be honest. And of course, Charles can get him out if he wants him out, because he just stops paying the upkeep, as Tom Bower said in the Times article. It's with all of these enormous pads, it's the upkeep which is the killer. That's what you've got to find an awful lot of money for. And there are reports that the roof is in bad shape. And of course, if you sign a lease with the Crown Estate or with whoever, you are committing to keeping that property in a decent state. And the minute the property starts to sort of crumble, then your landlord, whoever your landlord is, can evict you and say, well, you're not keeping your side of the bargain. And that's exactly what the briefing is all about with Royal Lodge. They're saying that it needs £1 million worth of work, and multiple tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands per year anyway, just to keep it up to a decent spec. So that's what it's going to come down to. I think the reports we were all talking about last week about whether the electricity and the gas were going to be turned off, that was clearly nonsense. And nobody, as a colleague of mine on Talk TV was saying, they're not going to be sneaking in there and putting a prepaid meter into Royal Lodge. That was pie in the sky. But the stories about the upkeep of the house, the £1 million refurb, the roof needing fixing, I think all of that is based in fact.
Really interesting when we've just been talking about similar problems in the Houses of Parliament. Well, just lastly then, if that is all of the case, and Frogmore Lodge is, of course, a very nice place to live, why won't Prince Andrew budge?
Bloody mindedness. I mean, you're absolutely right. Frogmore Cottage, it's not a cottage, it's a 5-bedroom country house, very, very comfortable, but it's not a 30-room house, which Royal Lodge is. I mean, ironically, Frogmore has more bedrooms than Royal Lodge. Royal Lodge is very much like one of these huge American houses that you see advertised that has 30 bedrooms, but 30 rooms, but only 3 bedrooms. And that's ridiculous. I think it's got 10 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. It's kind of a crazy house, but they've been there. When I say they, don't forget that Fergie still lives with her ex-husband in Royal Lodge. It is their family home. The girls are clearly very, very fond of it and very sentimental about it. And I think Andrew's just having a massive sulk and says, come and get me if you think you're hard enough.